You know that feeling, right? That intense, all-consuming fascination with someone you barely even know. Maybe it's a celebrity, a coworker, or that person you see at the coffee shop every single week. It's a feeling so powerful, it can literally hijack your thoughts. Well, this intense, one-sided infatuation actually has a name. It's called limerence. So today, we're going to explore why our minds get so fixated on people we simply can't have.
And it can all start with just one tiny detail. A glance, a comment, or, as it says here, a radiant smile that felt like sunlight rising in your chest. This powerful feeling where reality and fantasy start to blur is limerence. It's an involuntary state of intense romantic obsession, and trust me, it's way more common than you might think.
So why does this happen? What is actually going on in our minds and in our hearts that creates such a powerful, almost magnetic pull towards someone who is, for all intents and purposes, completely out of reach?
To really get a handle on this, we're going to look at it from 4 key angles. First, the strange appeal of someone being unreachable. Then, the psychological trick our minds play on us. We'll also cover the hidden safety and the very real price of these fantasies. And finally, how to turn this whole experience into a powerful tool for self-discovery.
Okay, let's start with that central paradox. It sounds kind of strange, but it's precisely because a person is unreachable that they become the perfect blank canvas for all of our deepest desires and longings.
See, the thing is, the attraction is almost never just about their looks or who they really are as a person. It's about what that person symbolizes to us. They might represent freedom, adventure, creativity, a life that feels way more exciting and meaningful than our own day-to-day routine. They become a symbol of everything we feel is missing in our own lives.
Okay, so if it's not really about them, then what's actually going on inside our own heads? Well, this brings us to the absolute core psychological mechanism behind this obsession, a concept called projection.
So this big idea comes from the psychologist Carl Jung, and he called it projection. It's basically this unconscious process where we take parts of ourselves, especially the parts we've pushed down or haven't let ourselves live out, and we see them in someone else. We're essentially using that person as a screen to watch a movie about our own hidden potential.
And this right here, this gets to the very heart of the illusion. We think we're seeing perfection and idealism in them, but what we're really seeing is our own unlived potential. We get captivated by what we think are their unique qualities, when in reality, we're just fascinated by our own repressed parts. They feel like a perfect match for us, but they are truly just a perfect mirror of our own deep, personal longing.
And this is exactly why people we barely know are so perfect for this whole thing. Celebrities, that brief acquaintance, they only show us tiny fragments of who they are. They can't contradict the fantasy we've built. They can't be messy or complicated or disappointing because we don't let them be. They stay a perfect blank screen for our imagination. And here's the wild part. Our bodies literally can't tell the difference. On a neurobiological level, our brain reacts to these one-sided fantasies as if they were totally real. Your heart starts racing, your brain releases a flood of dopamine and endorphins, you get all the same chemical reactions you'd have in a genuine romantic connection. The illusion triggers a very real, very powerful high.
Now, this whole intoxicating experience can feel incredibly safe and wonderful, but that safety, it comes at a pretty steep price. So let's explore the central paradox of living inside this fantasy world.
On one hand, the fantasy offers some amazing perks. You have total control of the story, there's zero risk of rejection, it feels emotionally safe because you're the one writing the entire script, but the price for that safety is high. You can start to lose touch with your own reality, and even worse, you can start tying your entire sense of self-worth to an illusion that can never, ever be fulfilled.
And this is the most dangerous part of the whole thing. It's when our value as a person becomes dependent on being chosen by a fantasy. When we think, if he saw me, then I would be valuable, we set ourselves up for inevitable disappointment. Because if that person ever did show up in our real lives, the reality could never possibly live up to the perfect image we've built in our heads.
But here is the crucial turning point, and it's actually a really hopeful one. This entire experience doesn't have to be purely destructive. We can actually flip the script and use it as a powerful mirror for our own self-discovery. Having these intense feelings isn't a flaw, and it's definitely not something to be ashamed of. I want you to think of it as a signal, like a blinking light from a deeper part of yourself. It's a message from your unconscious that something really important is calling for your attention. So instead of focusing all of our energy outward on them,
we can start to turn that focus inward. And the very first question to ask is simply, what does this projection say about me?
And from there, we can go even deeper. Is it really them I'm longing for? Or is it the adventure, the creativity, the freedom they seem to represent? What am I truly longing for in my own life? And this might be the most powerful question to really sit with. Which parts of myself have I been neglecting? What talents or desires or aspects of my own personality have been ignored for way too long and are now just crying out to be seen?
So how do we find our way back from this? Well, it's really a three-step process. First, you have to recognize the projection for what it is, a mirror reflecting you. Second, you have to listen to its message, decode what your longing is trying to tell you about your own unmet needs. And third, and this is the most important step, start to reclaim that longing. Find ways to give those things to yourself in your actual, real life.
So I'll leave you with this one thought. Your limerence isn't just a painful obsession. It's a map. It's a map created by the deepest parts of you, pointing directly toward your own unlived life. The only question is, where is it telling you to go?
Now, to dive way deeper into this whole topic, the primary source for this explainer is the book Loving an Illusion by Anne Skye. It's a really fantastic resource for anyone who's on this journey back to themselves.
And if you're looking for a connection with other people who truly understand this experience, you can also check out the Limerence Pathfinders support community on the Skool platform. Because remember, that longing isn't a problem to be solved. It's a map, and it's pointing you back home, to yourself.